I'm Robert Estrin, and this is livingpianos.com, your online piano resource. Today, the message is your music must have pulse or it dies. Now, that's an intense statement, but it's so true. Sometimes you listen to seasoned concert artists who become so self-indulgent in their playing that they lose the beat of the music. And it really loses its whole energy and purpose when you don't have that pulse to guide everything, to hold on to the structure. And this happens oftentimes in slow pieces where people think they're playing very expressively by having so much freedom. A great example of this is Clair de Lune of Debussy. You hear somebody and they'll start it really slow, but then they don't have a pulse, and you're left with this wishy-washy wandering sound that isn't anchored in the music anymore. Listen to what I'm talking about. See if this sounds familiar, if you've ever heard anybody play Clair de Lune like this. Now, there's nothing about that that is indicated in the score. Debussy wrote this piece, and it has a beauty that is revealed when the real rhythm is played. And the secret, then, is figuring out what note value is the pulse. If you've ever looked at the score, you'll see eighth notes, but you're in 9/8 time. So if you had eighth notes ticking, so you'd have something like this, I guess. Let's see if I can try to do this. Of course, it becomes very difficult because you have tuplets. So some of the eighth notes won't even work. So if you go... And you can see it's really hard because sometimes you have 3 in the time of 2 notes. And what kind of pulse is that? Does this sound like a pulse? If you ever have a pulse like that, you should run to the hospital because you're probably having a heart attack. So a pulse needs to be slower. And in this case, in Clair de Lune, the pulse really is the dotted quarter note. So if we divide by 3 here and get down to a reasonable pulse rate, then you can feel the music. So let's hear what it sounds like now at about 1/3, the same tempo, but with the pulse only ticking the dotted quarter notes. So you've got this nice relaxed pulse. Within that framework, there's so much freedom. Instead of quantizing each fast note, you feel the pulse, and then you have the liberty to nuance the notes within that pulse of the larger beat. And that is the secret. Sometimes you can have a pulse that's so slow that it gives you tremendous freedom. For example, Chopin's Nocturne in B-flat minor. Now let's see if I can make this work. Okay, these are eighth notes sticking, quarter notes. And this, once again, this is a pulse that is pretty darn fast. It's not very relaxing. Now I'm going to do something quite extraordinary, which you can do with when you download metronome apps. You can go slower than 40, which is on traditional mechanical and electric metronomes. It only went down to 40, but I'm going to first do this at 90. And you'll see how constrained having to fit the notes into this many pulses. So it sounds very regimented, robotic, by quantizing everything to that exact beat. Because it's not really the beat. The beat should be felt as the unit of 6 notes, of 6/8 notes. So that if I turn this metronome down to 30, dare I do it, and have a tick for the dotted half note, there's a pulse there. But the freedom that you have in your playing when you have a slower pulse. Rachmaninoff said, the larger the phrase, the greater the musician. And I believe that the slower the pulse, the more control, it's easier to maintain tempo. Listen. This is the same tempo, mind you. Do you see how relaxed that feels? By feeling the slower pulse in your music. And this is true of everything. Now, particularly fast movements. If you try to play a fast movement, you're thinking every 8th note. Maintaining tempo when you're thinking... But if you start think of a tempo like this... compared to having the beat twice as fast, and then it... Now, for initially getting the music under your fingers and to be absolutely sure of the rhythm and that you're playing honestly, playing this way is actually very instructive. But once you have the piece moving more, thinking the longer beat as the pulse, can give you freedom within the beat and makes it easier to maintain your tempo. Try it with your music and let me know how it works. Here are the comments on YouTube and livingpianos.com. Again, I'm Robert Estrin with your online piano resource. Thanks so much for joining me. The thumbs up and all your subscribers, my indebted gratitude to you. We'll see you next time.